You might think we've covered an awful lot of what makes Twitter tick at this point, but you're still missing out on something pretty important: the social aspect. So far we've only discussed creating content and putting things out there, but of course Twitter isn't just about output, it's about input too. This is a communication tool and a social network. In other words, you need to think about responding to comments as much as you think about creating posts from scratch. Better yet, you need to think about how you can encourage engagement and interaction. This will make a big difference to the way people see your brand, and it will greatly improve your chances of getting shared and retweeted. What's more, by leveraging this social engagement correctly, you can see sudden growth. This is where the growth hacking aspect comes in, so why don't we start with that? If you're new to Twitter and you post a tweet to your audience, then you may get it seen by, say, 100 people, maybe 1,000. This is pretty good. If your post gets retweeted by one of those 1,000 people and they are an average user, then it may get seen by 100 to 300 more people on top of your original 1,000. This is also pretty good. Better yet, if someone enjoys that tweet, they might start following you. Thus, you've got a new follower. But imagine if your post were retweeted by someone like Bill Gates. Suddenly, that message would be seen by millions of users. He currently has 24.6 million followers, thousands of which would probably retweet it to their thousands of followers. Some of Bill Gates' own followers would probably have millions of followers in their own right, so this effect would be repeated potentially many times over. You would get hundreds of thousands of new followers this way and would increase your influence drastically overnight. That's a growth hack because you've gone to 1 million followers overnight instead of taking it the usual several years. This particular growth hack is using a technique called influencer marketing, where you're relying on the influence of someone already established on Twitter to give you that boost and that head start. Now, influencer marketing will always involve an element of luck, and you can never guarantee that it's going to work. Still though, it's well worth a try, and by targeting influence with content tailored for their appreciation, and even sometimes mentioning them in comments, you can potentially see amazing results. Oh, and a tip: don't go after Bill Gates right away. Instead, aim to start with smaller influencers, such as prominent members of your niche or your industry. Look for someone with about 1,000 followers and then someone with 100,000 followers and build your way up to the top. You can also get great success from mentioning other businesses and having them mention you. That way you can quickly share your followers with one another. This can even work with direct competitors, but you're more likely to be successful with business partners and companies that provide supplementary services to your own. If you build websites, then looking for an SEO company and promoting each other is a good strategy. Again though, aim for people who are on a similar level to you to begin with. Here's a quick tip for any kind of influencer marketing. Real-world strategies always work best. Too often people find the email address or the Twitter account of an influencer and think, great, a connection. In reality though, that person is not a connection. A connection is someone who actually feels that they know you, at least a little, and who is willing to help you out. You can accomplish this in 2 minutes if you meet someone in person, whereas it takes a lot longer to get to that level via emails. This is why networking events and trade shows are so valuable. Find the influencers, introduce yourself, and have a human chat. Do not try to get anything from them. Then, a few weeks later, post something related to what you spoke about, or perhaps that you think they'll find interesting, and then tag them. Don't force the issue, but your chances of a retweet just went up significantly. You can also use your real-world networking skills to get regular followers on board. If you run a retail store and someone visits, you can tweet a photo of them with you, or you can message them to say thanks. People love this as it feels a little like being famous, and if you're lucky they may retweet that message to their followers. This is particularly useful for local businesses. If they're a local customer, then chances are their connections also live locally. In the next video, I'll talk about some more ways you can engage with your audience. We mentioned at the start of this video series that Twitter was perhaps one of the most flexible tools for social media marketing. If you just do everything we've covered so far, then you'll have a powerful social media account that will grow rapidly, especially if you combine the strategy with great quality content and some creative ideas. But to get the very most out of Twitter, you should also consider some of its other features. For instance, Twitter advertising and reputation management. Twitter is a powerful tool for public relations because it gives you a direct means of communication with your audience. This in turn means that you can control the way your brand is seen, and it even allows you to respond to comments, criticisms, and bad reviews. One aspect of this is the power of reputation management. Reputation management is a service provided by many online agencies that changes the way your brand is seen by people researching it online for the first time. This involves the process of responding to reviews and encouraging positive feedback, but it can also mean responding to comments and discussions about your brand. This aspect can be handled very easily on Twitter. To find mentions of your brand on Twitter, you can simply search for it using Twitter's built-in search tool. Hootsuite can do this even better, as can using Twitter's advanced search option. Either way, you can now see when someone is talking about you on Twitter, and this gives you the opportunity to respond. Make sure that you write something positive and not defensive or retaliatory, even if it's responding to something negative. Also, don't ignore the positive comments you receive. Instead, consider favoriting the comment, which might get you a new follower, or respond to them and thank them for the mention. You can do the same thing by responding to reviews and putting forward your own point of view. Do be careful not to unnecessarily attract more attention to bad press, though. It's a fine line to walk. In fact, there are lots of ways that Twitter can have the opposite effect of the one you want when it comes to your reputation management and public relations. There are countless examples of celebrities and even businessmen and women saying things on Twitter and other social media channels that make them look out of touch, petty, or stupid. Don't let this happen to you. Follow these 5 points. 1. Don't be negative about other brands and don't pick fights. 2. If you are the face of a professional brand, try not to be opinionated on divisive topics. 3. Stay away from politics and religion unless you feel very strongly. This is a risk you may still decide to take. 4. Research your facts and make sure that you know what you're talking about. 5. Avoid sweeping statements. If you're struggling to get momentum naturally on Twitter, then you can always pay for a little bit of a jump start. Twitter advertising is called promoted tweets, and this means you'll be able to pay to get your tweet seen by a wider audience. Your tweet will then be seen by more people, though the audience will still be specifically targeted to ensure they're relevant to your niche. You can schedule the tweet, in a similar manner to Buffer, so that it will appear at a specific time of day and will not be shown to your followers unless you want it to be. Of course, you can use Twitter advertising to directly sell a product, but very often it can be used simply to get more people to start following you. This is a great way to get more people to become aware of your brand, and while ROI might be slow in coming, it can be an effective way to attract people you might otherwise not be able to reach. For more advanced marketing, though, Facebook ads are far more flexible and powerful, as is Google AdWords. As your social media accounts and blogs should be working synergistically, you might do better to advertise in these places rather than directly on Twitter itself. In the final video of this series, I'll help you put together a Twitter strategy you can start to implement right away. In addition to the advice I gave you in the last video, you should also be thinking of ways that you can increase engagement with your broader audience. How do you get people to not just glance over your posts, but to actually read them, to comment on them, and to view you as almost a contact they can trust rather than a faceless brand. Right away, following the advice we've covered, such as being more personal and open in your posts, can help a great deal. At the same time, though, you can use some of the following strategies. A very underutilized strategy on Twitter is simply to follow people. Because if you follow someone, you gain their attention, especially if they don't have a ton of followers. Suddenly they feel excited that someone, even a brand, is interested in what they have to say, and they check out your page. More often than not, they'll follow you back. The same goes for retweeting. Retweet the things that people have to say, and they'll feel obligated to you. Suddenly, they'll be much more likely to retweet whatever you have to say, in part simply because they feel somewhat obliged to return the favor. Obligation and reciprocity is a very powerful emotion in business. Again, this works best if you don't apply it to the huge players who won't even notice you. Do it to people who are a little lower down the pecking order than you, and try to benefit them in doing so. It's no skin off your teeth as long as their post is relevant to your audience, and it will still gain you followers when they return the favor. You can then scale this up as you climb the ladder and gain more and more followers. Want people to comment and engage you in conversation? Then simply invite them to. Adding a "what do you think" or "opinions please" to the end of a message invites discussion and is much more likely to result in proper engagement. Also, think about what you're posting about. Does it naturally lead itself to discussion? And of course, to make your account seem active and engaging, you should also make sure you answer everyone whenever possible. If you've ever read Kevin Kelly's blog post 1000 True Fans, then you'll know what an impact even a single fan can make. Don't take your followers for granted. They're worth the investment of your time. If you haven't read the post, you can do so at kk.org/the-technium/1000-true-fans. Finally, if you want to draw in a lot of new followers quickly, another powerful strategy is to run some kind of event. This might mean a competition or a giveaway, or it might mean a live Q&A. Either way, something like this can get people talking, it can generate buzz, and it can be exciting for the followers you already have. Think about things you can do that will be fun and different, and that will stand out. How about challenging your visitors with some kind of brain teaser? Or maybe volunteering to retweet the best comment about your new product? How about letting your users name your new comment? It's something to consider. So there you have it, a complete guide to how you should start getting the very most out of Twitter. Hopefully this has fueled you with some inspiration and ideas to help get you started, and you should be raring to go. In case you're a little overwhelmed though, here's an outline for a strategy you can begin employing right away. First of all, create a strong logo and brand. Incorporate this across countless social media sites as well as on your main blog. Secondly, create connections between your accounts so that some content will be auto-generated. Add some content to buffer to ensure your Twitter never looks dead. Make it easy for yourself to post images and comments with the right apps. Stop posting adverts for your product or service. Start posting about the niche, the lifestyle, or the industry that you deal with. Make sure your content inspires, helps, and entertains. Provide value. Comment on news and important events. Use the right hashtags to help your content get found. Engage with your audience. Encourage them to join in with conversations. Add new users and retweet their best content. Use ad swaps and influencer marketing to hack your growth and start getting higher faster. Gradually interact with users that have higher and higher numbers of followers. Utilize the power of your real-world connections and work with business partners to access their followers. Launch events and competitions to generate buzz and get people excited. Look for mentions of your brand and respond to them. Consider promoted tweets for a boost. The key is to make sure you're always providing value. Combine this with strong branding and lots of opportunities for people to find your content, and you won't go far wrong. Good luck and happy tweeting.